Meeting here.
No respect.
Worst facts are really
Let's please stand for pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here. As with most speeches, I can hear with two people. But anyway, I have a brief report tonight. Please excuse my voice. I'm a little hoarse. A few days ago, I had a sore throat. It's all fine now, and I feel great. But it's settled in my voice. So I'm going to read a statement here, and then that'll be all that I have. We'll go straight to Mark. Almost exactly 1 year ago, the city inadvertently placed an unfinished ordinance on the agenda for voting. The city recognized the mistake and withdrew the bill, advertised this fact, put it on the city website and on Facebook. Even though this information was well known around the city, a very small group of individuals thoroughly embarrassed the city and the tourism industry itself by contacting the media, TV and radio, scheduling interviews, and inviting media representatives to come to our Board of Aldermen meeting. Those media representatives that called and or attended left before the meeting started because they recognized they were being used. Nonetheless, videos were made and edited copies of the videos were circulated that did not accurately show what happened that night. While claims were made stating that the city was trying to, quote, outlaw laughter and fun, this small group sent Facebook and email messages to over 2,000 people in dozens of states promoting these claims and urging them to call and write their disapproval. Free and discounted rooms were even offered to people who would complain. These few people took control of the Board of Aldermen meeting and shouted down opposition, and pushing and shoving took place. I've been present at some unruly Board of Directors meetings, but nothing like this. The disturbance lasted almost 80 minutes. This type of fake news severely damaged the reputation of tourism in Herman. It took the concentrated efforts of the city and other cooler heads about a year to eventually overcome this negative publicity. The saddest thing of all was that the damage was done by people prominent in the Herman tourism business. They damaged their own industry, and there was no reason for it at all. Maybe they were so intent on embarrassing the city that they failed to realize the consequences of their actions. Maybe they didn't care. It is also possible that these individuals thought they could intimidate the mayor and the aldermen by their extreme behavior, but it did not work. Since that time, the city has taken measures to make a repeat of this behavior extremely difficult, and we have passed dozens of ordinances without any similar controversy. The idea that if you don't like a proposed ordinance, you should disrupt is not a very good way to affect the mayor and the board. Several times since, we have had proposals and citizens have asked to speak to the board and offer their views. When persuasive enough, we have tabled bills to gather more information. Sometimes this results in changes to the bill, and sometimes we discard the bill altogether. This is the proper way to effect change. Using reasonable, convincing discussion will work. I can assure everyone in Herman that their opinions will be heard and they will be considered. Shouting, pushing, and shoving will not work. Let's hope that we are well past this type of confrontational behavior. We have a lot of important items to consider in the future, and we will not hesitate to bring these items up in future meetings. We will always allow proper discussion and consideration, and we will do everything possible to make the very best decisions after considering the best interest of everyone in Herman. Let's keep this example of misbehavior in the fading past. Apologize for my voice. That's all I have.
Okay. On this Thursday, the 16th, Herman City members, some of us, and the Gaston County officials will be meeting with MoDOT and the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission to prioritize road and bridge projects throughout the county. Herman will be making a case for the replacement of the Market Street Bridge in front of Herman Ford. The city continues to tabulate the results from the fiber optic survey that was sent out in the bills. If you have not returned yours, please do. The contractors began work on the new sanitary sewer lift station located next to the Herman Middle School. If you get a chance to drive by, the hole is enormous.
They're calling it the pool.
It's the more they take out, the more falls in. There's a lot of moisture in the ground there. And don't forget that the city will be picking up leaves every Tuesday and Thursday through November. And don't blow them out in the streets because they clog the storm drains.
So they should be bagged.
Should be bagged. Also, I got a letter from a citizen I'd like to read to everyone. Addressed to me, dated November 2nd, 2017. Dear Mr. Wallace, I wish to commend the Public Works and other city staff who effectively installed the natural gas line to our residents. I want to especially spotlight the work of Darren and Jason who trenched the line. You may recall that with your intercession, we were able to successfully tap into the existing propane gas line and thereby save us a long and difficult trenching from the old propane tank to the house. I also wish to commend Wayne and crew for cleaning up the debris created by trenching the gas line, as well as the work that CenturyLink did on the utility easement after their line had been accidentally cut during an earlier installation on the city gas line along Epley-Fricky Drive. As new residents of Herman, we are most appreciative of the city crew. Sincerely, Bill and Lisa Abraham. We don't hear this very often, so the mayor asked that I read this, and I'm happy to do it.
And they are living in Seton, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you, Mark. Now let's get to the ordinances. Dave?
All right, the first is bill number 2017-44. It would be an ordinance calling general election for the year 2018, setting the date and time thereof, specifying polling places, appointing judges of election, specifying officers to be elected, providing filing date for candidates, providing for publication of notice of election, and general provisions.
I'll make a motion as first read.
Second?
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Next is bill number 2017-45. It would be an ordinance prescribing the salary for the elected office of city collector and establishing the effective date thereof.
Make a motion approved.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Next is bill number 2017-46. It would be an ordinance to approve a municipal services and materials contract by and between the city of Herman, Missouri and Mid-America Piering for stabilization of the community center walls and floor.
Mark, they have done work for us.
Yes, they have.
I will move to approve the bill.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Do we need to do that twice or no? Okay.
All right. Next is bill number 2017-47, an ordinance to approve a Herman No. 3 substation design agreement by and between the city of Herman, Missouri and Central Electric Power Cooperative.
Is it my understanding that it's going to cost about $75,000 with the estimate? And then that's paid off as monthly? Or
That's part of the overall substation rebuild project, I'm sure. This may come out separately, but you have to have
several hundred thousand is the project?
It was like 400,000 was the entire project.
Okay.
No, this is with the all-new transformer and everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But they're designing it so everybody's systems all
Yes.
work together.
Yes.
But we have to have the design so we can get the specs and get the thing
Which
ordered.
one
because
is
it takes a long
is
time.
3? Is that one over by Stonehill or is
No,
it?
that's
which one?
industrial park.
Industrial.
Yeah, that one. I will move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
I'm sorry, that one Jesse requested you read twice.
Okay, we want 2 times.
All right. Bill number 2017-47 for second reading, an ordinance to approve a Herman number 3 substation design agreement by and between the City of Herman, Missouri and Central Electric Power Cooperative.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
And the resolution, resolution on for tonight is a resolution to ratify an application for recertification for the Tree City USA designation.
We do this every year just to keep up our certification.
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Unfinished business is order to discuss a draft ordinance for gas meter fee increase. I sent to everyone, I believe, you should have a copy of a study I made. 2 of them, actually. The one that I'm interested in, we're discussing tonight, is the one that looks like this. It actually discusses the meter fee. Gives a history of the fees. It explains everything about it. It talks about all the different things we use. The service charge includes the gas meter itself, monthly reading of the meter, checking the accuracy of the meter, replacing meters when necessary, recording the results of the meter, generating statements, mailing statements, receiving payments, recording payments, depositing payments, determining non-paying customers, taking action to collect non-payments, and answering metering questions during the month, and probably some other things. But we do that for $3.50. Well, not. We don't. It costs a lot more than that. And we haven't raised these fees since 1975. 1985, I'm standing
That's when
corrected.
it first was established.
Right, and prior to that, that's when it was pretty first established, so we never really raised it. Had the company that bought, when we were talking about selling the gas company, in their prospectus, they said they would immediately raise this fee to $19 a month. So I think adding $5 makes sense. Now, I'd like to see it postponed until January, which it may be as early as we can get it done anyway, and go on the next billing after that. At least it gives people a few months to get into the cold, high gas usage months. $5 isn't very much, but it is to some people.
When you're on a fixed budget,
Right. So anyway, if you have questions on this, please ask them, and if we don't discuss it tonight, call me or email me.
I think, a lot of people don't contact me, but on this one I've had several, and most of them are senior citizens, most of them are fixed income. That's only $60 a year, but still, is it really necessary to do the $5 increment at the beginning, or can we do like two and a half or something? I understand the $1 a year after that, but the $5 increase is scaring a lot of people. Let's put it that way. I don't know how else to turn. People that are on the fixed income, just on Social Security and don't have any other income, that's a lot. Well, I'm just saying it, I just think, I know it's never been raised, I understand that, but
The problem is we have higher and higher fixed costs, and our gas prices are getting lower and lower, or they've leveled off at a low area. when we have a higher rate, it generates more revenue for fixed cost. And last year, we had to go 20-something thousand into reserves, and this year already, we're in, what, 18,000?
Right.
Within, what, 3 months or 4 months of the year?
First 3 months.
So the first quarter, we're already 18,000 into our reserves. We need, if we want to hold on to our reserves for when we need line maintenance or some kind of emergency, that situation that happens, you know, like in the electric department, we have something in the neighborhood of 900,000 for an emergency, you know, situation where if an ice storm comes and downs a lot of lines and poles, where if we have some kind of a big incident on the line, we don't really have any money other than what we have in reserves in the gas line and the little bit we have in the wheeling fund. So this is to prevent having to go into our reserves and be more responsible with how we run our gas system. And it's going to have to come from somewhere eventually. And it's a whole citywide. I mean, I understand there's a lot of people on fixed income, but it's not just them picking up the bill. It's, you know, they've saved a lot of money over the years by not having a regular for-profit gas company charging them $18 a month. I mean, they've saved a lot of money over the years. So I think we need to do this to be responsible so that we don't keep going into the hole and into our reserves, and to have that cushion there for when we need it in the reserve for the lines.
You said the gas rates have gone down over the course of time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been...
I guess the question is then theoretically, the consumer hasn't saved money, no?
No, theoretically, even though you would think, well, gas rates are down, so they should be making more money in the gas company. The formula for billing is set up, is driven by the cost of gas and the volume of gas that we sell. So where we used to make 5% when gas was $13 a 100 cubic feet, or is that 1,000? 5% of that is 65 cents. Now gas is less than $3, and 5% of that is 15 cents. So we're not even covering our total cost.
Well, I understand we're not making any money, but is the consumer over the last several years actually saved
I'm
money?
sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
which, you know, nobody wants to give it out, but do they realize they've been saving money
Yeah,
over the
since
past
since
several
about,
years?
I
I'm
think...
sorry.
And, you know,
Yeah,
I know that nobody wants to think about
Yeah,
that,
no,
but
to-
it's a
yeah.
fact that,
To
you know,
answer-
that
yeah.
$60 could very well have been saved over the lower cost.
Yeah, yeah.
And one
To
more.
answer your question about that, you know, I think it was in spring of 2012 when our gas commission started, and we saved instantly, like, I don't know, what was it, 20 cents on the billing, or on the service charge that
The administrative fee.
administrative fee that MOPEP, well, it was the Missouri Gas Commission underneath, you know, in the same group as MOPEP. But they were charging us a lot of money. They were charging us storage fees. They were charging us a lot of fees that we eliminated by starting our own gas commission with the cities on the line. And so since 2012, we've actually saved everybody on the line a significant amount of money. And then you consider that other competitors have had $15 more a month in fees, you know, every month since 2012 at least.
Alderman Durham, I apologize. I answered a question that you didn't ask, and you're not really supposed to do that. You're supposed to try to answer the one that's about to let the person ask the question, so I apologize for that. And I think if our cost of gas at one time was $13 and now it's less than $3, people have saved a lot of money.
And I guess that's my point, is they need to realize that even though they're on a fixed income, they possibly have saved more than we're asking to save, or to put out to save the gas company, which should be
And
something that they're willing to do.
One of the reasons that we have, and we think it's a good idea to own our gas company, is because we basically try to operate it at just a little bit above the break even. So people don't have to pay anything extra. We don't have shareholders. We don't have to distribute any dividends or make a profit for distribution. So, but when we fall below that level, then we have to do something, or we wouldn't be very good stewards of these companies. So, any other comments? We don't have a vote, we don't have a bill. Maybe next time we're gonna have one. And,
I did have one citizen come to my office and ask if the $5 fee was going to be, ended up going towards the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, the gross receipts. And just to make that clear, it will not. The service fee is for the gas company and stays with the gas company.
So once we vote on this and passes, it goes into effect immediately, or timetable, or?
depends on how we write it.
I think it'd take a while to get it set up in the billing schedule, Carol. So,
Yeah, because we bill a month behind, so you have to put it into effect at a certain time, and then it'll be on like the next billing, because like this, the bill that comes out on December 1 will be October to November, and it'll be due December, so you wouldn't be able to put it like on that bill because it's already been used. You'll have to go forward a month.
So that'd be actually March if we wanted it theoretically started in January?
January, February, through March, it'll be on the March 1 bill.
And see, those are the 3 months we'll probably come closest to breaking even. Then when we get into April, May, June, it drops off. And then the summer, not too much gas. The fall, and we get into the heavy months. So that might be okay. That's why I was thinking January 1st puts it into effect in March on that bill. Flags, up to you. Do you have a preference for date, or should we?
Well, we could make it effective January 1st, and it won't be billed until March.
Sounds like we shall become effective and charged for all gas consumed commencing January 1st, 2018. But that actually won't be billed till March.
I have a question about,
That'd be billed in February, wouldn't it?
No, March.
Do you have it payable in
You
March
have to
15th?
make it effective January 10th, because that's what our billing is, it'll be January 10th to, that's how we start reading meters on the 10th of the month. So you have to do it January 10th effective for the January to February, and then do March.
what about the UAB's recommendation that the alderman could opt out of the annual $1 increase every year, 30 days prior to the budget being approved? That would mean we should be running with the budget cycle, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it then be somewhere in July?
Well, each one of the dollar increases could be in July, but this can go into effect now. It's the dollar increases that can be opted out of, not this. So we might have one effective March, and the next one comes in whenever it comes in, quickly thereafter.
And I didn't put any language like that in the draft to say that in future years, the Board of Aldermen may vote to opt out and not charge this additional $1 fee, so long as it does it, before the budget is passed, or you can they can do it whenever they want. I mean, you guys can't bind a future Board of Aldermen to not do something, or to do something, or put a time limit on it. That's why I didn't put it in here.
But you can work that out, right?
Why can't we do it to them? If past Board of Aldermen had done their job, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Can we work on that?
Well,
What do you need?
we just need city staff to remind the Board of Aldermen every year at budget time when we're talking about gas that the $1 increase is going to become automatic next year unless you vote to not do that.
I bet you can remember that.
I can do that.
Probably. Because you're already
Okay. Sorry for answering questions that we don't need to answer.
But my point is, If 3 of the 4 aldermen came in November before January and said, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want it to increase that dollar starting January, well, then they can vote and then it's not going to happen. But it'd be prudent to talk about it every year at budget time.
Right, well, because then you can fold it in to the budget numbers and we can see if we're gonna make money, lose money, whatever. All right, well, we'll work on that next time. Discuss draft ordinance, let's see, discuss code section 245 tree regulations. And I've discussed this with the tree commission and with a prominent member thereof. And really what we have here is an ordinance that says we can only plant trees if there's 2 feet, if they're 2 feet away from the curb and or the sidewalk. And most of our space between is 2 feet. So unless we change that to 1 foot, we can never plant any trees. The other thing is, only certain kind of types of trees are appropriate in a small area like that. And we know what these are. There's 6 or 7 species that are good. And we should, I think, besides moving the distance from 2 feet to 1 foot, I think we should also specify in there the type of tree that's appropriate for that small space. The ordinance is already in place. It's pretty much everything we want. The other thing is, if somebody's going to plant a tree on city property or an easement or right-of-way, I think they should get a permit. And the permit will then tell them, these are the kind of trees, this is a close area, narrow area, a moderate area, or a wide area, depending on the wording of the ordinance. So those are basically the only 3 things I think we need to consider. And that's up to you, that's what y'all do. So I put it on here because it's just sitting there. There's some things we have that are complicated and take a lot of time. And it takes us a long time to do those. There's a few things sitting out there that don't really take much time. And this is one of them. It seems like we ought to be doing those when we identify them and get them fixed.
Was this recommended by the tree commission?
Yes,
Okay.
that's how I found out about it.
And there would be, because I know when this went in, there was a lot of curbs and sidewalks that were getting rooted up because of the types of trees and stuff, so I guess it doesn't make a difference if it's 1 foot or 2 feet.
Well, if it's 2 feet, they can't plant them because
Right.
it says 2 feet.
What I mean is, what I'm saying is if 1 foot isn't gonna make the difference if it's uprooting.
If it's the wrong kind of tree.
Right.
Exactly.
Is there a reason that they couldn't have a list of appropriate trees in the ordinance?
I'm gonna let you, okay, that's the
Well,
question.
the problem is,
Before I answer it,
those trees change.
Well, they're not gonna change.
Bradford pear were all the rage for years. Now, it's a big no-no. You can't have them because they're ruining the regular pear trees. You know, things change. So,
Well,
I
they could be
think-
struck from the ordinance.
well,
I think what we do is we say there's a list available from the tree commission, or we put it in there. I mean, there's 6 or 8 trees.
Well, and the reason that I'd like to see it in this is because now that, ordinances are published and anybody can go online and look them up, all I've got to do is I'm going to the nursery today, let me see what tree I can buy. Instead of coming out to the city and finding out, and, it just seems like it would be so much simpler if there was, again, if there's only certain trees, then, and maybe they don't even have those trees available wherever they're gonna go to buy one there.
But I think it should be in there, or
Well,
available to those people.
can we change that list without changing the ordinance on the vote? Just that list of acceptable trees?
Well, if you put the list in the ordinance.
Yeah, it would be a big deal to just change the list and
Okay.
as an
The
ordinance.
tree commission could keep a list of trees that are approved as per this ordinance, and that could be changed.
Well, I mean, I'm not against having a list.
I don't know.
People get really passionate about trees and this.
I
stuff.
know.
Can't tell 'em.
I know that.
So I'd
can we-
recommend then having the list put in the ordinance.
Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Pretty simple, I think, isn't it?
If somebody can
All right.
give me the list.
I'll get it.
So while he's doing that, are we changing anything with these distances or anything else?
I thought we were gonna do three things. We're gonna change the distance.
1 foot in the strips and then
Right.
change these other
We're gonna
distances.
have a list added that's appropriate. And the third thing is, if they're gonna plant it in a right of way or on city property, they ought to get it from some type of permit. And I believe that's in the ordinance, but we ought to make sure that way, if they're gonna plant one in a place that we really, it's in a easement and they travel it for the electric company or whatever, we won't put a tree there. Those are the three things I think. Okay? All right. Small thing, but it's important to a lot of people. Okay, motions.
Real quick before we
Sure.
get
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
Yep, I got something to do.
Okay, sorry, man, I see.
Carol, when does the tree sweeping end?
Todd said, 1st of November, he was stopping street sweeping.
But with all the leaves still falling? or
He
the
said he
stuff,
would probably be doing it for leaves, for the
But there will
leaves,
be no
yes.
more tickets after the 1st of November?
No.
Okay. It's just, everybody out there that's listening, though, if there are leaves in the gutters, follow the schedule and park on the other side of the street, so when the street sweeper comes by, he can get them. But,
And did I just hear, please don't blow your leaves into the street?
yes, I've had a couple calls about that already, and I had to ask the dispatcher to ask an officer to go talk to the people. I don't know why anybody thinks that's a good idea, but don't blow all your leaves out into the street and leave them there. Burn them, bag them, do whatever, but please don't do that. I don't like having to ask police to go to people's houses and tell them they're gonna get a ticket if they don't clean their leaves up, so.
Okay. Any other,
I've got something. Over a year ago, planning and zoning was tasked with rewriting or looking at the existing sign code for the city. That has not been accomplished. They haven't had any more. They started, but haven't had any more action on it. And because of that, it's the antiquated sign code that's in existence now has caused a lot of frustration and expense to several businesses. And so I would like to make a motion that any reference to commercial business sign codes be removed from the ordinances.
What will that accomplish, Tom?
Well, that will accomplish that there won't be any regulations that are in existence now to go forward until such time as we have a sign code that is updated. And I know of at least 2 or 3 that have gone to the Board of Adjustments, gotten a sign made anyway, just cost them money. There'll be a sign ordinance or a sign request tomorrow night that's not gonna, at Landmarks, that's not gonna match the sign codes. And people don't realize that if sometimes if these signs are not made properly, size-wise, dimension-wise, that it costs not only the business owner money by lost revenue, but it also is costing the city tax revenue because they're losing business because people can't find their business. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, it makes no sense to deny these people the right to make money and be appropriate. And that's the other thing is Landmarks is supposed to issue certificates of appropriateness in historic districts, and what may be appropriate, they can't do because the sign code won't allow.
So are you saying that we should stop promoting our sign ordinances because we don't have the ability apparently to approve a new sign ordinance because we can't get the committee together?
That's what I see. And it's been
Okay, so-
over a year, so I think there's no excuse, and all you're doing is jeopardizing new businesses.
How can we call a meeting of the planning and zoning to finish the sign ordinance? Can I do that? Because I've asked for that. And of course, Marcia's not here, but we have two issues before planning and zoning that have been there since last February, but they haven't had a meeting. Can all of us, regardless of what we do on Alderman Durham's, as also an item, can the board here call planning and zoning into session, or can I do that? How do we do that?
Why don't you, yes, pass a motion to request planning and zoning to schedule a meeting as soon as possible and to have on the agenda the review of the sign ordinance and
Okay.
whatever the other thing is
Yeah.
that they're.
Now, that's my idea. Let's get that done, regardless of any other things that might be on the horizon coming up. Let's get them into a session and get them to finish that, because it is ridiculous. And I'd like to ask somebody to make a motion that we call planning and zoning into session to consider and finish the sign ordinance.
So moved.
We can do yours too.
You got two motions.
You can't have two motions.
Okay.
Can't have, I don't know. So,
Can he yield to my motion and we can?
He can
decide?
withdraw his motion and then second this motion.
my problem with, I'm sorry. Well, my problem with withdrawing that is that now we're talking months more down the road. They get planning and zoning to make, I mean, it took them, 2 or 3 months to get through 10 pages or 5 pages or something, and it's gonna continue
So
for
you-
another year, even
you
if they
think-
start meeting.
Do you think we're better off with no ordinances than we are with the ones we have?
Right
What we've
now-
got, I mean, I'm the board of Alderman liaison to the Landmarks Commission, and it's very confusing to me sometimes. People come in with a beautiful sign, I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. Well, all of a sudden it's not appropriate because of these rules he's talking
Exactly.
about. And they don't fit the pattern of what, they're using a cookie cutter pattern for everything, and it doesn't fit everything.
Exactly, and that's what the new sign ordinance
Was supposed to fit.
Supposed to do, so, and I've said several times at Landmarks that I think Landmark Commission's job is to give a certificate of appropriateness, which means if the sign or the paint color or whatever they see it appropriate for that request, then I think they should be able to issue. And then, so if you'd like, I wouldn't mind saying, or amending that to the historic district to remove all the references to sign codes, to commercial buildings, so that the landmark can issue appropriateness. I'm not even asking them to just go crazy and let people do whatever they want to, because then they should be able to deem what's appropriate size and color and shapes or whatever. Other than that,
So what if somebody comes to Landmarks and says, here's my sign, I want to do it. They say that's not appropriate. And they say, well, you just passed an ordinance that says there's no ordinance against any signs. So how can you, as a non-aldermanic body, override that and tell me I can't have it?
well, I guess then the definition would have to fall under appropriateness, right? What is appropriate, what's not.
You couldn't.
Could you make a motion that the landmarks would have
Until such
I don't
time
know
as,
if jurisdiction is the right word, but, you know, some kind of, they would have ordinances as more of guidance than an actual ordinance that they can override. I mean, it sounds like they're doing it anyway.
Well, the structure we have in place for that now is actually Board of Adjustment. Because if somebody doesn't like the decision of landmarks, they can go to Board of Adjustment.
Right.
And the way I'm hearing this issue is you might have somebody come with a sign that is, maybe the ordinance says that the sign shall not be any more than 12 square feet. And they come with a sign that is 10 square feet, so it fits within the ordinance. Landmarks has the option to still reject that sign because it's bright pink and we don't think that that's a good color, so they reject it. But somebody could come with a sign that's 15 square feet, that's the appropriate historic colors and look beautiful and all that. And landmarks could like it, but that person can't put up that sign because it's more square feet than what our ordinance allows.
Correct.
And so if landmarks is doing their job, they should reject that sign because it violates the ordinance on its face. And then that person would have to go to Board of Adjustment and show why that he should be able to put up that sign even though it's 15 feet instead of only 12 feet. And so if we just got rid of that 12 square foot ordinance altogether, or pass some sort of motion to stay any enforcement of all sign ordinances, you know,
I mean, is that a step forward? Is it a step forward?
that's really.
I don't know, I mean,
What's
your
the major issue? Is it the size?
I think it's. the
I think
fact that
most of the
nothing-
time it's size, correct. And
And is there certain things that say it must be flat against the building or something, or is that something else?
no, they're on the old or the new.
I'm talking about what's the issue with what's in there now? What's the issue that you're having?
Issues are primarily size, in you know, the size of the building and the percent of the sign. Under the ordinance now, it's one size fits all, and this doesn't mean that some signs are gonna be too small. There may be buildings that they want too big a sign, and they're allowed that, and it looks bad. You know, it's not in proportion, it's not appropriate to the building. So, and their recourse is, like I said, going to the Board of Adjustments, which then, now we're talking months down the road, plus additional expenses, and I'm not positive, but I think everyone that's gone in the last year or two have been passed by the Board of Adjustments. So it seems like a useless exercise, except for,
How is that gonna impact a new sign ordinance when we get it, and we're gonna get it? Well, I say we're gonna get it, that's up to y'all. But we will have something to vote on.
exactly. And, you know, there's been hours and hours and hours by several citizens and sign companies and research of other cities that the proposed sign ordinances are efficient and they're right for, you know, the city. And they're a lot, they explain more things and you know, it's just that it was, back in the day, nobody really cared, I guess, I don't know. But now it's important to these businesses to, you know, have the correct signage. And they can't, all I can do is fight, you know, and it makes no sense. So, you know, I'm all in favor of once the sign ordinance, and I don't see, you know, the progress that they've made really hasn't altered much of the original proposed sign ordinance. So it's not like they're saying anything bad about it, but there's
We're not
no
seeing it.
progress, okay? And like I said, I hate to, you know, when people come and ask and have to defend the city for saying, well, I'm sorry, but they won't allow this. Why? Well, there's no good reason. It's just the way it's always been. And that's not a good enough excuse for, and you know, like I said, people don't understand the loss of even revenue, you know, for their business. If they can't be seen, people are not gonna go there. So every dollar that they pass is a dollar they didn't make.
Well, we don't want that.
No.
But the first motion is, what was the first motion?
Tom wanted to repeal all enforcement of all commercial signs.
Sign regulations.
In the historic district.
I'll amend it to historic district.
Oh, okay. What do you all think about that? Because I'm going to ask you to follow up with a motion that we call planning and zoning into action to finish the sign ordinance at its earliest possible convenience.
How would, if this was suspended or repealed or whatever, how would the landmarks determine what's appropriate? What do they do for a sign?
Well, color, shape. I mean, you don't hang a neon pink sign on a green building, you know, they've got certain colors, paint matches, you know, whatever was appropriate for the
Well, I
time.
guess-
Time frame the building was built and stuff, and
And we'd have to trust their judgment that they're making the right determination.
But if there's nothing written, then me wanting my sign and you guys say I can't, well, there's nothing that says I can't. Why can't I? Just because you say I can't? I understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Well, honestly, Bruce, that's pretty much the way it's happening right now with the way the rules he's talking about. I mean, I have a hard time following it sometimes because it's a beautiful sign, it looks like a building, well, it's not appropriate for that building. And they're using these rules, which
And
is, like I
that's
said,
why-
it's a cookie cutter rule, it doesn't apply to every
But if
situation.
you don't have any rules,
Yeah, I can't see where that's,
I mean, I understand where he's
I
coming
think-
from.
I think, yeah, I think before there was rules, we got the plane coming out of the building. That was,
Yeah, I think
that
there was
was,
rules then.
I don't know if there was or not at that time, but
But that's appropriate.
yeah, that's what I was getting at, is what is gonna be appropriate if we don't have these rules?
Well, I don't think there was any rule even now that specifies whether or not that plane can come out of a building or not, okay? Maybe sizes, but it has nothing to do with projecting signs. So that could or may not still be able to be passed if the...
I think we should have addressed this, and I've been trying to get this addressed with planning and zoning, and it hasn't happened, and I apologize. If we had gotten on this 6 months ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would have new signage ordinances. I think this discussion shows the importance, and I've talked to several aldermen about this. It's not a matter of how thick it is,
Right.
because our yellow pages is thick too. But I don't have to start at A and go all the way through to Z to find the people that are at G. I can flip through there and go to that and find it. So we need to have a handbook to cover our signs. We need to get planning and zoning involved through a resolution or an ordinance, whatever it takes, and get them working on it. Now, what you want to do in the meantime is I really am not, I don't know how nothing can be better than something, but it all seems to end up anyway at the same place. So I don't know. That's up to you. I don't get a vote. So,
The, right now, Board of Adjustments is $300, is that correct? To go, that they have to pay?
I believe.
Then, what if we suspend it until we get a new sign code, suspended that fee of Board of Adjustments that they can apply to for a determination?
so in other words, let the ordinances be in place as they are and suspend the $300 until such time as we have a new sign ordinance.
Would that be acceptable?
Well, I
Or,
find
and the
that-
reason I said that is because
I find
I
that-
know, and I don't even know which specific sign it was, But I do know that they had to turn it down, and all the board members on the landmark, or commission members,
Dave?
well, without approval, they said that they approve it, and then I think that had a lot of influence on the Board of Adjustments.
I think you would have to say that you're suspending the application fee for any application to Board of Adjustment, and not just say signs. Like if somebody had a lot line adjustment or an easement or something like that, they wanted to go to Board of Adjustment for, you couldn't make them pay $300, but somebody who wanted to go to Board of Adjustment for a sign issue didn't have to pay the $300.
But
So,
how many do we have? Trish, you would know that, wouldn't you? You don't know that.
What exactly is the question?
How many people go to the utility, our
Board of
the Board of Adjustment?
A handful a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're not talking about dozens and dozens, so we could suspend it.
I
And
would find that an
Temporary.
acceptable solution. Until such time as we have the ordinance.
And the reason is, I'm trying to give the faith to the Landmark Commission that they understand what is appropriate and don't have to go by certain size requirements or whatever.
It's not pretty when someone wants a sign approved that's into that gray area, you know. It really needs clear guidelines.
well, is that something we can approve? You want to amend your motion? Either way.
I almost think it's cleaner to add something to the code until we get the thing finally done that just says, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this city code, no sign regulations shall apply to properties in the historic district, like somebody mentioned earlier. And then make sure we have it in our certificate of appropriateness code that signs are something that they need to go to landmarks for approval for in the historic district. Because right now, signs isn't really listed there. It's any alteration or construction or removal or whatever, and so we've told people they need to go there.
So if we
for a
want to do
sign.
this, we need to change the landmarks?
I would do two things. At the next meeting, I would say that all sign regulations or no sign regulations are applied in the historic district. And then in the landmark section, be sure that we say signs or something that we need a certificate of appropriateness for.
Is that something you really want to do?
I mean, that's the same as saying we're gonna and all you're doing when you say you repeal the $300 application fee to go to Board of Adjustment is you're saying that anybody who's unhappy with landmarks because their sign was too big gets the free pass to the Board of Adjustment where they can undo it. Why don't you just get rid of the size regulation in the first place?
But the sign still must be approved by the Landmarks Commission. Yes.
Okay, well, it's up to y'all. What else?
Well,
Is this something
and,
we want
you know, if indeed we can get planning and zoning on, coming up with within the next 3 or 4 months, whatever it is, to get it passed, then
It
we
won't
can.
last long if we do that.
Do I?
You're saying it won't last long if we do that, you know, what we're doing.
I would think,
Yeah.
because I'm showing some importance here, and, November last year, might have been October, but November, I think, was their last meeting on this. And they said, well, holidays are coming, we can't do
Yeah, they
anything
are.
next month, and so we'll get together maybe January.
Okay,
Well,
now, what should we do here? We have a little more business to talk about. Does this require us to pass a motion, or do you want
I've
to?
got a couple motions standing out here. Are you rescinding your
I
first
rescind
motion?
the
And are
motion
you
I made
rescinding?
earlier.
Okay, now, what I was really talking about the motion on the floor, which is Alderman Durham's. Do we need a motion passed to do this? Or can you come up with the ordinances necessary we could vote on next?
I can have the ordinance ready for next time.
So then he could withdraw his motion too. And still get this to vote on next time. Basically, your motion would be prepared. And nothing can happen now, even with the motion.
is that true?
Do we have anybody coming up before landmarks in the
Tomorrow.
next 2 weeks?
Tomorrow.
You could pass a motion now that says that landmarks shall basically ignore or not enforce any size, spacing, material, provisions in the code.
That'd be fine too. The,
Because your landmarks data, you can tell them what to do and what not to do and say that.
So you're saying for the meeting that they're having tomorrow, we're giving them new instructions?
Okay, and what, can we write that down so we can vote?
okay, so then I should rescind my motion and make a new motion to that effect? What do you say?
Somebody better say it again.
What regulations are we talking about? Is it size?
Size, I think, yeah.
You want to just say size?
That would be fine.
Okay with that.
Whenever we do the ordinance, you want to just say size, no sign, no size requirements or regulations elsewhere in city code shall apply to the historic district.
That would be good.
Okay, I'll second your motion for,
I'm not sure what the motion is, so somebody please
can
help
you
me.
rescind the size
I got that.
restriction for
I just need to, I got the list.
ongoing?
I wouldn't say rescind, I would say the city shall not enforce any sign size regulations currently in the city code in the historic district.
And then next meeting, we're gonna have a cleaner version.
Now, who is delivering these instructions to the Landmarks Commission tomorrow?
How about the
Who's the
Liaison?
liaison is,
The liaison's gonna try to be there.
Okay,
It's
well,
just deer season, guys, okay?
I plan on being there anyway.
One of us will.
So,
Now, you made the motion, you seconded it?
right.
right. And I'm gonna call for a vote as soon as you write it down.
Sorry to be a pain.
No?
City shall not enforce sign size regulations currently in the city code in the historic district.
Okay. We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Does this have to be continued? Does not spin it? Now, I would like to have the motion that Dave originally made that says we are asking, requiring, calling a meeting of planning and zoning to address and complete the new sign ordinance at their earliest possible convenience, or something like that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried. All right.
Did we ever finish the tree thing, didn't we?
There wasn't really anything to finish.
I did the
He's
discussion.
going to come up with the
Okay, just wanted to make sure we got it.
Well, you're. Sometimes I answer ones that aren't asked, and we forget ones that. Okay, no.
Just wanted to make
All
sure.
right. The minutes of the last meeting. What do we want to do with them?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Invoices for payment.
I move to approve the bill. Second.
We have a motion made to approve the bills and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain on type files.
What now?
On type files.
Okay. Abstention. Hire Joshua Kroll and Timothy Garrison as reserve officers. Does anybody have any questions on this, or?
As long as Marlon wants them, I approve.
The, when you hire, are these basically standby, you call them when you need them and that's it?
When we need them to fill in for,
Vacations or
sick
whatever?
leave or things, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Police are hired. Conditional use permit Harold and Rebecca Zastro for a mobile home not located in the planned residential mobile home district at 430B West 6th Street. Has anybody driven by, or they,
Yeah, it's fine.
There's a narcotics incident.
Those are what? That's several years ago, right?
July.
This July?
Marlon?
Yes. We had investigation there. Search warrant conducted there.
That's one of the few trailers over there I haven't had any complaints about, so.
we don't always know everything that's going on again. What do you want to do? You want to, what can we do?
This is the renewal?
We don't have to give them a year renewal. We could do it less than a year and put them on kind of a probationary period for 6 months or something, 3 months.
It says annually it must pass city inspection. Do we have any kind of city inspection for these?
Not that I know of.
I don't think Lee's been over there, why not?
Yeah, I think Marcia has a note on here
Oh,
that
he did,
Lee
yeah.
has been by.
That was because they were,
Yeah, that was the debris.
and they wanted, originally, the original application was they were in the process of restoring,
Cleaning it up.
cleaning it up and they were gonna move in there, or their son or somebody was gonna move in
Their
there.
daughter. The trailer had sat longer than the required period, and it needed a permit in order to be used again as a residence.
And we did approve it.
Yes, we did.
But now we have this other issue. And
Was it just one time?
Just at one time, it was a search for some other things, and we got a search warrant for narcotics. And that was about the one time we've been there.
well, we could, like I said, we could approve this for less than a year. We don't have to approve it. We've done that in the past. We could make it 6 months or 3 months, and without any further violations or problems, we can address it again and approve it then.
Does the people living there, do they own it or are they renting?
Their daughter lives there.
Do they own it? Or
Yeah, they own it, but their daughter lives.
Out of curiosity, if it doesn't get renewed, what can of worms does that open?
Well, then they have to be given notice that their use has to stop. And if they don't stop, if they don't take the mobile home off of there, then we can take it off of there. My advice would be to get a court order first. It'd be an easier TRO than what we're used to just have the thing removed. But if you were thinking about denying it or not renewing the permit, I wouldn't advise that we just vote it down and say tonight that we're not going to renew it. I would put it on the agenda for the next meeting as a public hearing, quote unquote, and invite these people to come and say why they think it should be renewed.
as well as neighbors that might be impacted.
And send things to neighbors and have them come and say why they think it should or should not be renewed, and then decide.
The neighbors.
I'm kind of thinking of having kind of a probationary 6 months to see if there's any other incidents there. I don't know. I'm going back and forth, doing what Dave said with the hearing or giving them a probationary period. And as long as there's no other incidents, to keep it.
It's only for a year anyway. We do this every year.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, we just approve it and then after.
And if there's multiple problems, we can
Right, we can do what I said anytime.
Yeah.
We can call them in here for a hearing.
If you can let us know, Marlon, if anything else happens in the next year, whatever, or, when it happens. Anytime, so that we can consider, doing something with this permit.
So can we we approve it tonight for a year, and we have a problem in 4 months,
We can rescind it, can't we?
can we
Yeah.
rescind it?
Mhm.
Okay,
After hearing,
after a year.
where we explain to them the charge, you know, or why we're proposing to rescind it, and then hear what they have to say, and then decide.
When these permits are issued, do you mail them to them? Do they come in person or?
The conditional use permits, I believe Marshall mails them a letter saying when they were approved, yeah.
That notation maybe should be in that permit, that if there are any further incidents, that the permit could be rescinded.
So they're on notice.
Yeah. Can we do that, David?
Yeah, I would make that motion that we conditionally approve the renewal with a warning that it can be pulled for any other incidents at the residence.
Yeah, they're right here.
I'd second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Appoint Linda Miskell to the Tourism Commission. I think we have Linda's paperwork. She will fill that
I'll
out.
make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Linda, congratulations. Reappoint Lori Sutton to the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approved bid for the three-phase pad-mounted 300 kVA transformer. And this is going where?
For laser light fixtures.
Are we getting any reimbursement on this?
This is eligible for the grant money from MPUA.
I thought we had already used that. No, I thought we had, you're doing it to me. He's doing to me though, but, yeah, okay. Approved bid for three-phase, yeah, I thought that line that we're running up to the senior center, I thought that took the whole 100,000.
According to Jesse, no. This is,
I know it's eligible for it.
Right.
We can put it in the pot, but
But we're
there's
gonna
only
have to.
100.
we're gonna have to change out this transformer, it's the wrong voltage, when they get the new substation built, so, and just by chance, it would be eligible for reimbursement through the grant from MPUA if he wants to use it for that.
Yeah, okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. There being no further reports or citizens' comments, I would like to have a vote that will be a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go home.
You're signing these papers.
This meeting that you forget, the alley.
You,
Marl?
Like Bob Duffy and the senior.
Right.
There's been lots of water in that alley.
I thought
Bill,
that
It's not.
was not. Oh, I see.
Senior housing,
It's still on.
that alley there, there's a big drain.
Right up,
There's water coming off the hill, up the little in front one.